A lot of white people who don't experience it whatsoever. So, I think that there needs to be sort of an idea that legislation also meets an education process. And I think this is really what is important. We've been talking a lot about getting the Democratic issues out, whether that's on race relations, whether that's on health care, whether it's on infrastructure spending, whether it's on education. And what I've been calling for is free state schools, at least start off with free community colleges, all these things. But we end up talking about Republican issues. So, if we allow, the Rudy Giuliani's of the world, who come out of nowhere like Dracula, flying in here and, talking about, the ideas that, when I was mayor, all the great things happened when, we had, these squeegee guys, and that's how we fight crime. And we all know that has led to the search and frisk and so on and so forth. I just hope that we have got over that, and we're now as a nation in a better understanding. We're better educated because of what has happened with these two.
Well, don't hold your breath. Of course, I can't breathe.
Yeah.
That seems to be resonating out there. And,
yeah.
And it's interesting, though, you mentioned Mr. Kenneth Meeks, who was my intern at one point at the Amsterdam News when he was a very young person. And he's gone on to really become a very fine thinker and writer out there with Black Enterprise magazine. And but what he was talking about then, and you're absolutely right, Jeff, when you begin to kind of trace back, just take a step back from all of the intensity, the fierce urgency of now, and begin to kind of contextualize and put this stuff in historical perspective and begin to see how it's an accumulative process. And because you have this kind of movement, it's more than just a moment now. It's turning into a movement because what's happening is that there's not only are there the rapidity of these particular incidents where the cops are shooting down young unarmed black men and Latino men, is that it's happening with such a rapid pace and then all over the country. So it's not like it's isolated. It's an aberration. What happens with Eric Garner, what happens with Michael Brown, what happens with John Crawford, Tamir Rice. These are not aberrations, and they're happening in such a way, and they're across the country, so we don't have to worry about it being concentrated in terms of the protestations. Of course, the Millions March that happened last Saturday down in Washington is kind of a culmination of all of these different events coming together to have all those 5 mothers, all who have lost their sons, within the space of months. So it's a tragedy. It's an American tragedy. Say it like it is. And we have to deal with it, and I'm glad that some of our elected officials at last are stepping up to the plate, that it begins to resonate beyond just a bunch of angry people in the street, but you have some clear-thinking folks who are very upset by this. They're very, very angry, and they're trying to find some way to bring some kind of change and resolution.
No doubt. I want to go to the phones just for a second before we go to the break. Ahmad in Chicago, you're next with our good friend Herb Boyd here on the Jeff Santos Show.
Jeff, great program, and I wanted to ask you and your guest your opinion on the fact that my feeling is that this needs to go to trial. That there's too many incidents of Hispanic men and African American men who are being falsely accused and arrested, serving long time prison time, being killed, and it's only been recently now since we've had the DNA, the ability to research and find out.
Hold on, Ahmad. I'm going to take a break. We'll come back. Stay right where there's Ahmad. We'll come back. We'll talk with Herb Boyd, get his thoughts on this call and this question. We'll take your calls as well. It's the Jeff Santos Show. Back in a flash.
Math is everywhere, and parents, we can make it fun for our kids.
The National Education Association wants you to raise your hand for student success.
I'm NEA President Lily Eskelson Garcia. Math doesn't have to be a chore. Talk about the latest game and how many total points were scored, the differences in speed limits on the way to school, or how much it would cost to buy lunch for the whole week. Learning doesn't just happen in the classroom.
Visit NEA.org/parents for more tips.
With over 900,000 products in 31 product categories, some people would say Grainger has everything but the kitchen sink. Of course, those people would be wrong, because sinks are among the over 900,000 products Grainger offers to help keep your business up and running, along with belt sanders, baseboard heaters, duct tape, tissue paper, reversible air drills, and, well, you get the idea. Most everything. For super fast access to Grainger's over 900,000 products, call, click Grainger.com, or stop by a branch today. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Confessions of a Potentially Perfect Parent, brought to you by AdoptUsKids.org.
I know more about cooking dinner for a party of 12 than about packing a lunch for a 12-year-old. I know kids like things like fish sticks. Fillets, I get, but sticks? Maybe we can just compromise on mac and cheese. Can you make that with Brie?
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who would love to put up with you. Call 1-888-200-4005 or visit AdoptUsKids.org for more information. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt Us Kids, and the Ad Council.
When you open a book, you can explore new worlds, meet new friends, and discover new adventures, like the ones in the Chronicles of Narnia.
Impossible!
Are you prepared for what awaits you? To find out more about the wonders of reading, you can visit the Library of Congress website at www.loc.gov and let your journey begin. This message has been brought to you by the Library of Congress and the Ad Council.
I'm here to tell you that your options for getting out of debt have never been better. How do I know? Because I'm Howard Dvorkin, the founder of Consolidated Credit. For nearly 2 decades, we've helped over 5 million people just like you. And every time we help someone, they all say the same thing. Why didn't I call sooner? If you owe too much money on your credit cards and you feel that you'll never be able to pay it off, don't wait. Simply pick up the phone and find out what our program can do for you. Reducing your payments by up to 50% is just the beginning, but you have to take the first step.
Call Consolidated Credit now. 1-800-290-0412.
As soon as you call, the hard part is over.
You're one call away from financial freedom. Call Consolidated Credit now. 1-800-290-0412. 1-800-290-0412. That's 1-800-290-0412. 5701 Sunrise Boulevard, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Licensed debt management service provider, Vermont and New York banking departments, Maryland 149, Oregon DM 80031.
LIUNA, the Laborers International Union of North America, is the most progressive and aggressive union of construction workers and one of the most diverse and effective unions representing public service employees today.
Laborers International members are on the forefront of the industry.
We're 500,000 proud and strong men and women united through collective bargaining agreements.
We earn family-supporting pay, good benefits, and the opportunity for advancement and better lives. Do you?
To learn more about the Laborers International Union of North America, go to liuna.org.
We're asking people how big a marriage is.
Like how many people it affects.
Right.
So let's find out.
How big is it? I can't measure it. It's worldwide. I would say as big as the universe.
So your marriage affects more than just the two of you.
How many people?
At least 1,000. If you enjoyed your marriage, you're kind of like, I want that too.
You see those nice people being together, being happy, and you want to enjoy that too.
Want to improve your marriage? For ideas, go to foryourmarriage.org. A message from the Catholic Church.
Connect on Twitter
at Jeff Santos Show.
Well, you asked for it, and you get it. That's with our good friend Jimmy MJ, our great producer down there in Vero Beach, Florida. We're talking with Herb Boyd during the break. He says, well, Ticket to Ride, to get that. A little Stevie Wonder. Well, here you go, Herb.
Oh, brother. I'm gonna shut up.
No, bring it on. It's all good stuff. All right, we continue with our good friend Herb Boyd to the bottom of the hour, and we'll be joined by John Bussinger a little bit later. Ahmad, you were asking a question, my friend. Continue.
Yeah. I'm going to try to make it quick. My concern is that all of these police departments across this nation, as soon as they waive some money, whatever the amount is, to me, it doesn't resolve the problem. $75 million, $50 million, $25 million, it doesn't make any difference. Right here in the city of Chicago, we've had numerous people released from off of death row, 20, 30 years. In the book of 100 Years of Lynching, a black man could be arrested for reckless eyeballing. And my point being is that there's a loss of life. There needs to be some adjudication in a court of law. There has to be that kind of restitution, just not financial. So let me get your opinion on that.
Well, I agree with you 100%, Ahmad. There needs to be something. That's why we're trying to keep this whole idea moving forward. But let me get Herb, since we have limited time, to get his perspective. I think he's spot on, Herb.
Oh, and no doubt about it. And always good to have callers who have some background information, some history and understanding. You can cite, 100 Years of Lynching, Ralph Ginsburg's book. That's always good, because that means that you're paying attention, and more than just a moment, too. You have a historical look at the situation. And what's happening here with the law enforcement agencies across this country, they're just with impunity. And so until we can begin to drop some punitive measures on them, and I'm talking about substantial, too, and certainly you're right, Ahmad, they need to have some kind of adjudication, some kind of trial on these situations, but they can't even get to trial. You can't get an indictment, coming out of these grand juries. And even if you got an indictment, the chances of getting a conviction and a sentence and some kind of punishment is pretty remote. Until we get some changes in our criminal justice system, or criminal injustice system as we perceive it, is that we won't have any changes there. And that means we have to begin, these cops are going to have to pay, more than just from a monetary standpoint, too.
No doubt, no doubt. All right, let's take one more call. Yogi in Chicago, and Yogi is a regular caller, Herb, and a great activist. Used to be President Obama's driver when he was a state senator. How you doing, Yogi? Say hi to Herb. How you doing, man?
Hey, Herb, how are you?
Okay. You still driving?
All right, yeah. Yeah, I'm still driving. I still drive some famous people. I haven't got Jeff yet, but he's pretty famous. I'm looking to get maybe you, because I go out of town now. I go from Chicago to California. I go all over. So that's, I go all over. No place too far and no place too little for me to get.
Beautiful.
I can get there. But anyway, fellas, the only way a whole lot of this is going to change is when we get some of the high-profile lawmakers or politicians, kids or grandkids that's getting hung up like this, where they can't get the right justice. Then you're going to see a bill come up. The same thing happened when, you remember at one time, sometime back before the House boomed, before they let Wall Street go crazy. Remember, they said it's a shame that college students couldn't come out of college and get themselves a home and get started. And it was a shame for that, because their young people were getting hurt. Okay?
Yeah, Herb, I hear you, Yogi. I gotta cut you off because I only got about 30 seconds, but I hear you. I want to get Herb's perspective before he has to roll. Go ahead, Herb.
Oh, yeah, Yogi's on point again. What he's saying is that until they begin to feel our pain, nothing's going to change. You talk about some of these notables, some of these high elected officials. It's the same thing with the draft. Until when they're drafted, something will be done. You dig it? So we need to bring the draft back, for our whole military arrangements. Until it hits home for them, same thing with affirmative action and a number of other issues out there. It's got to mean something for them, Yogi.
Right on, Yogi. Thank you. Thank you, Herb Boyd. We'll talk to you next Thursday.
Thank you.
Math is everywhere, and parents, we can make it fun for our kids.
The National Education Association wants you to raise your hand for student success.
I'm NEA President Lily Eskelson Garcia. Math doesn't have to be a chore. Talk about the latest game and how many total points were scored, the differences in speed limits on the way to school, or how much it would cost to buy lunch for the whole week. Learning doesn't just happen in the classroom.
Visit NEA.org/parents for more tips. With over 900,000 products in 31 product categories, some people would say Grainger has everything but the kitchen sink. Of course, those people would be wrong, because sinks are among the over 900,000 products Grainger offers to help keep your business up and running, along with belt sanders, baseboard heaters, duct tape, tissue paper, reversible air drills, and, well, you get the idea. Most everything. For super fast access to Grainger's over 900,000 products, call, click Grainger.com, or stop by a branch today. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Confessions of a Potentially Perfect Parent, brought to you by AdoptUsKids.org.
I know more about cooking dinner for a party of 12 than about packing a lunch for a 12-year-old. I know kids like things like fish sticks. Fillets, I get, but sticks? Maybe we can just compromise on mac and cheese. Can you make that with Brie?
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who would love to put up with you. Call 1-888-200-4005 or visit AdoptUsKids.org for more information. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt Us Kids, and the Ad Council.
When you open a book, you can explore new worlds, meet new friends, and discover new adventures, like the ones in the Chronicles of Narnia.
Impossible! Are you prepared for what awaits you?
To find out more about the wonders of reading, you can visit the Library of Congress website at www.loc.gov and let your journey begin. This message has been brought to you by the Library of Congress and the Ad Council.
I'm here to tell you that your options for getting out of debt have never been better. How do I know? Because I'm Howard Dvorkin, the founder of Consolidated Credit. For nearly 2 decades, we've helped over 5 million people just like you. And every time we help someone, they all say the same thing. Why didn't I call sooner? If you owe too much money on your credit cards and you feel that you'll never be able to pay it off, don't wait. Simply pick up the phone and find out what our program can do for you. Reducing your payments by up to 50% is just the beginning, but you have to take the first step.
Call Consolidated Credit now. 1-800-290-0412.
As soon as you call, the hard part is over.
You're one call away from financial freedom. Call Consolidated Credit now. 1-800-290-0412. 1-800-290-0412. That's 1-800-290-0412. 5701 Sunrise Boulevard, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Licensed debt management service provider, Vermont and New York banking departments, Maryland 149, Oregon DM 80031.
LIUNA, the Laborers International Union of North America, is the most progressive and aggressive union of construction workers and one of the most diverse and effective unions representing public service employees today.
Laborers International members are on the forefront of the industry.
We're 500,000 proud and strong men and women united through collective bargaining agreements.
We earn family-supporting pay, good benefits, and the opportunity for advancement and better lives. Do you?
To learn more about the Laborers International Union of North America, go to liuna.org.
Some people would call him a loser. He ran for state office. He was beaten. He started a business. He failed. He ran for Congress. He lost. He was nominated for vice president. He lost again. But he knew only those who never tried are the real losers. And Abraham Lincoln was no loser. Persistence. Pass it on. From the Foundation for a Better Life at values.com.
I'm home and I love it. I'm home where I belong. I'm home and I love it. I'm home where I belong.
It's always nice to come home. But these days, many Americans are at risk of foreclosure and losing their homes. Fortunately, help is available. Making Home Affordable is a free program from the U.S. government that has already helped over 1 million struggling homeowners, and we want to help you.
I'm home, and I love it. I'm home.
Find out now what your options are. Go to makinghomeaffordable.gov or call 1-888-995-HOPE. The sooner you act, the better chance we can help you.
I'm home, where I belong.
Brought to you by the U.S. Treasury, HUD, and the Ad Council.
us on Twitter at Jeff Santos Show.
Under my thumb, the girl who once had me
34 minutes past the hour. It is the Jeff Santos Show. For those of you watching us on RevolutionRadioNetwork.com, we're joined by our good friend John Bussinger to my left. I must say, John, the American people are fed up, but I think they're pretty excited about the fact that they may have to get a chance to go vacation in Cuba.
Well, maybe some of the people up here would like to be reunited with their families, so there'll be more conversation between them and their families. But President Obama, quoting Albert Einstein, was very good, and it's one of Mike Cox's favorite quotes too. One of Mike Cox's favorite quotes is Albert Einstein. Keep repeating the same thing and expecting different results is a mark of insanity. No, the other policy didn't work. Regardless, time is on our side. If we're friendly with Vietnam, where so many of our people died, and then sometimes they've been our allies in some of the disputes over the sea rights down there against China, I think we can, over a period of time, in a way, convince the Cubans that they're better off with us. This idea that we should let them starve because Venezuela and Russia can't help them anymore. There's no Castro-like military operation in the mountains of Cuba ready to take over from the crumbling Batista regime as in 1959 with all the movies about what happened on New Year's Eve or whatever, and The Godfather and so forth. There isn't that. All you'll be doing is hurting the people. If nobody else can help them, we do, and they become more reliant on us over the years. Eventually it'll become like Vietnam is to us now, where we lost many more people in military combats than obviously we ever lost in Cuba. So I think it was the right thing to do. And as somebody said today, I forget one of the people today said, if not now, when? And the person who was against the policy didn't know what to say, really.
Yeah, we had on yesterday our good friend, we saw him the other day, Jim McGovern, congressman who welcomed Mr. Gross to Andrews Air Force Base home. And, it just seems to me that what you have is a situation where you can go the route of constantly building up a anger and resentment toward the Castro regime.
Justified, of course. Yeah.
Well, yeah, no, it's justified in the fact it's been in human rights violations, up the kazoo. But the fact is that we're never going to go anywhere until you talk to people. That's why I'm so impressed with the president when he sits down with Iran, because you're avoiding World War III. This is the way, and that's what Jim McGovern was saying yesterday. We can talk our way through this. It's diplomacy. We don't win when you're going to spend money on weapons or when you have to spend money and treasure and blood and when we go to Iraq. No, I mean, this is the way we should be doing foreign policy.
Diplomacy doesn't mean giving in to them on human rights, as some people would say.
Right.
That's obviously not going to happen. There's no desire, willingness, or even any kind of political ability to do that. So nothing going to change about our insisting on human rights. And as somebody said, it's better to have people down there in an embassy talking to people down there about our positions than having them not hear it. Transparency and openness is better. Imagine what would happen if North Korea was open. One of the reasons they were so upset about this movie is they deprived their people of knowing anything. The more Cuban people know about what's going on, the more or less they are like the idea of free elections and democracy, and eventually Cuba will change as the Castro regime and their confidants pass into history. The key is obviously the generational divide. All the polls show that most people support this. Most Cuban people support it, especially people under the age of 35 support it. So things are changing, and I understand why people of an older age who had abuses would be extremely unhappy about it. But that's the way the world has been since the beginning of time. That's what's so sad about wars, is enemies become friends. And it's tough because then people say, why did I fight this? And I understand that. You know, some of you died.
Why we should
some of
avoid
you
war at
died
all costs.
If you can. That's why people in Vietnam, you know, who died. Vietnam's now a trading partner, and that's always going to happen. Look how many times in the Middle Ages England and France fought, Spain and France, Spain and England, and now they're all part of a common Europe. So things change, and I think you have to look ahead to what's going to be and set a goal for far in the future. And it's tough because people, you know, had relatives and friends die. Somebody was saying today how they sat in the porch of a house, you know, in Cuba, and they never could bring their mother there, something like that. And that's understandable. But whether you like it or not, those things pass into history.
Exactly. And we move on.
That's just the way it is. Whether we like it or not, that's what happens.
Yeah, understood. Talking with John Bussinger here on the Jeff Santos Show. I'll open up the phone lines, 877-489-9421. By the way, just a little note here. I said we'll talk to Herb Boyd next week, next Thursday. Next Thursday, of course, is Christmas, and Thursday after that is New Year's. So we'll be talking to Herb in January, not in the next couple of weeks. One other note, we're going to be talking with our good friend Jim Dean tomorrow. And for those of you who didn't hear earlier, both MoveOn.org and Democracy for America have teamed up to try to get Elizabeth Warren to be a candidate for president. And John and I disagree on this, as does a lot of other people. But I think this is an important part to see if we get Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders and others out there. Then I think it'll be a very, very important piece of how we move forward.
Well, now that you put words in my mouth, it's not that I disagree with you. The mere fact is Elizabeth Warren is not going to be a candidate. But I want to say this, too.
We don't know that.
Well, I want to say this, too, because I heard a noted person whose name I won't mention who's on a television show have a whole segment about Clinton and the dynasty and Bush. At some point, I don't know when, that's got to stop. Because what's important to the American people are the issues. Too many times in campaigns, instead of the issues, we have the latest poll result or what people are saying about what other people are saying, what other people are saying. I'm just saying to you, and this is a program that talks about issues, I'm saying to you, the audience, and to you, Jeff, you know darn well because you talk about issues. We got to talk about the issues for 2016.
I agree. But are we going to get Hillary Clinton, who's tied to Wall Street, and Jeb Bush, who is Wall Street, to be able to deal with the issues that Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders are talking about?
I'm just not sure it's that simple that she's so tied. Don't forget, she was a New York senator. She runs for president. She knows she has to be president of the United States. But we'll see who runs, and we'll talk about the issues that come up then. Rather than putting a label on people, let them put it on themselves by what they say under questioning, what their policy statements say. We're going to give them a good grilling. But rather than
they need to have more than just 2 or 3 people running.
But rather than talking about names right now, I'd rather talk about the issues that affect us in 2016.
I agree with you. I mean, that's why I think that we should have 5 or 6 people
the political
running.
Party. Well, that may help, but I'm just saying the political party stance is very different. I reread, and I have it in my pocket here. I happen to find it. Romney's 50 points for a better America. 50 points. I'm not going to read it here, but I want to pull it out. I got to show it to people. I got it right here. The first seven are about taxation. Now, taxation's important, but taxation isn't the only thing in America. And if you read these carefully, the taxation issues they talk about are basically the ones that help the 1%.
Exactly. That's all.
And so when you talk about when you be suspicious of any candidate who talks about jobs without telling you what they mean, talk about the economy without telling what they mean, use the word reform without telling you what they mean. You know, it means different things to the different parties. I just read something in the Wall Street Journal by a Republican talking about labor reform, which means to hurt the unions.
Of course.
Tort reform.
But that's what the Republicans have been doing for years,
go
John.
After those lawyers
the last,
to help the
last
corporations.
30 years they've been doing that.
Right, so watch for the watchwords and talk about the real issues and get behind the superficialities. That's what I'm saying.
Well, we got to get Democrats to run on issues that are our issues. Single-payer health care, a lot of that. All right, let's go to a place where I think we're going to get a lot of different disagreement in a lot of different ways. Our good friend Pete from Plant City, Florida. How you doing, Peter?
We know Pete.
Hey, doing good. Loving it. You guys are both on time. I love listening to you guys go back and forth. I mean, I actually learned something. You both got great points. Hey, I want to tell you, Jeff, hang on. It was a brilliant move with Obama and the Cuban policy.
Hey, all right. I love it.
But But what you both are talking about, the reason why Castro came to power is because Batista was in the back pocket of the oligarchs and treated his people like crap.
You're right on.
And the mafia, probably.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, right now the difference between corporate America and the mafia is getting to be harder and harder to figure out.
You get that right.
I mean,
no,
really.
no. I mean,
The white collar mafia, maybe.
They meet somebody.
Well,
They meet somewhere. They meet somewhere down in Soho, right, Peter?
Well, put it this way: you want to kill union workers in Costa Rica or South America, and you're a banana company or something, go right ahead. U.S. courts will let you go.
Yeah,
That's how bad it's got. If you're a corporation, but I want to get back to some more serious things, though. Really, with the Batista deal, it's great. The United States foreign policy and imprint in South America is bad. They've got to reach.
Math is everywhere. And parents, we can make it fun for our kids.
The National Education Association wants you to raise your hand for student success.
I'm NEA President Lily Eskelson Garcia. Math doesn't have to be a chore. Talk about the latest game and how many total points were scored, the differences in speed limits on the way to school, or how much it would cost to buy lunch for the whole week. Learning doesn't just happen in the classroom.
Visit NEA.org/parents for more tips.
With over 900,000 products in 31 product categories, some people would say Grainger has everything but the kitchen sink. Of course, those people would be wrong, because sinks are among the over 900,000 products Grainger offers to help keep your business up and running, along with belt sanders, baseboard heaters, duct tape, tissue paper, reversible air drills, and, well, you get the idea. Most everything. For super fast access to Grainger's over 900,000 products, call, click Grainger.com, or stop by a branch today. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Confessions of a Potentially Perfect Parent, brought to you by AdoptUsKids.org.
I know more about cooking dinner for a party of 12 than about packing a lunch for a 12-year-old. I know kids like things like fish sticks. Fillets, I get, but sticks? Maybe we can just compromise on mac and cheese. Can you make that with Brie?
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who would love to put up with you. Call 1-888-200-4005 or visit AdoptUsKids.org for more information. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt Us Kids, and the Ad Council.
When you open a book, you can explore new worlds, meet new friends, and discover new adventures, like the ones in the Chronicles of Narnia.
Impossible! Are you prepared for what awaits you?
To find out more about the wonders of reading, you can visit the Library of Congress website at www.loc.gov and let your journey begin. This message has been brought to you by the Library of Congress and the Ad Council.
I'm here to tell you that your options for getting out of debt have never been better. How do I know? Because I'm Howard Dvorkin, the founder of Consolidated Credit. For nearly 2 decades, we've helped over 5 million people, just like you. And every time we help someone, they all say the same thing. Why didn't I call sooner? If you owe too much money on your credit cards and you feel that you'll never be able to pay it off, don't wait. Simply pick up the phone and find out what our program can do for you. Reducing your payments by up to 50% is just the beginning, but you have to take the first step.
Call Consolidated Credit now. 1-800-290-0412.
As soon as you call, the hard part is over.
You're one call away from financial freedom. Call Consolidated Credit now. 1-800-290-0412. 1-800-290-0412. That's 1-800-290-0412. 5701 Sunrise Boulevard, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Licensed debt management service provider, Vermont and New York banking departments, Maryland 149, Oregon DM 80031.
LIUNA, the Laborers International Union of North America, is the most progressive and aggressive union of construction workers and one of the most diverse and effective unions representing public service employees today.
Laborers International members are on the forefront of the industry.
We're 500,000 proud and strong men and women united through collective bargaining agreements.
We earn family-supporting pay, good benefits, and the opportunity for advancement and better lives. Do you?
To learn more about the Laborers International Union of North America, go to liuna.org.
Hi, I'm Julia Roberts.
And I'm Bruce Willis.
In 1988, our dear friend Paul Newman had a vision, a place where kids with serious illnesses could just be kids.
So he founded a camp, and the joy of playing, laughing, and simply belonging had a profound effect.
Freeing the children to reach beyond their illnesses and discover new strength.
From that one camp, the Serious Fund Children's Network has grown, serving 30,000 kids globally every year.
At no cost to their families.
Learn more about the Serious Fun camp closest to you. Visit flyinghorsefarms.org.
This is Frank Santarelli. We are rocking with Jeff Santos. Rockin'.
Go from one Clevelander to another one. I was watching my good friend Craig Ferguson, who was leaving TV on Friday, well, at least his show, and he had on Betty White, hot for Cleveland. So it's all Cleveland all the time here. Our great producer, of course, Sarah Billingsley from Cleveland, John Bussinger, Cleveland, Frank Santarelli from Cleveland. I mean, it's all the time.
We rock.
Yeah, you rock.
Betty
right.
White's from Cleveland?
Well, she's doing the show, Hot in Cleveland.
That's right, of course, yeah.
I don't know where she's from.
Good. No, I don't think she's from Cleveland. Otherwise, we'd know about it. Bob Hope was from Cleveland.
There you go, yes. Bob Hope.
Yeah.
We continue with a man not from Cleveland, originally from Wisconsin, and now in the shade of Central Florida, our good friend Pete from Plant City. You were saying, Pete?
No, I was just saying that, you know, the correlation with Cuba, too, with the oligarchs that had controlled that corrupt government. I see it in our Supreme Court. I see it in the bipartisanship that's coming. And the importance of getting... Yeah, the Elizabeth Warren, the Bernie Sanders are great. I don't think that Hillary Clinton's got a snowball's chance in hell. And what I mean by that, and John, please listen, because I know the big money will be behind Hillary. When you get it, she's going to have to take stands on trade in Iowa. She's going to have to take the war on drugs, the prison industrial complex. Look what's the police brutality. All issues she's either been behind in the wrong way or totally ignored her whole entire career. And people are going to listen to what her actions were and who her friends are. They're not going to believe like Barack Obama, where they caught him and he was a great speaker and he wasn't Bush and he said the right things. They're not going to trust Hillary. The base is not going to trust Hillary.
Well, let me just interject here. You're making your point, but you're missing one thing. Some of those issues, we don't go over them one by one, we don't have time, weren't issues that she naturally would have been involved with. And people are asking now to make statements long before she's a candidate. I think we have to wait to see what she says. She spoke very effectively about torture recently. She's very good on women's rights. I'm not here to defend Hillary. I'm not endorsing her candidacy here tonight. Jeff and I haven't been asked to endorse anybody yet. The reality is, though, I think we have to wait. And you say she doesn't have a snowball's chance. Who are her opponents? What Republican is going to beat Hillary Clinton or any Democrat? Forget Hillary. What Republicans can even win the presidency?
Let me give you an example. Mitt Romney and Jeb Bush, either one of those debating Hillary, Hillary's answers will demoralize the base if she gets that far.
Yeah,
she will right away pull to the right. Well, on trade.
You can't assume something.
This is where I think I kind of agree with both of you here, or I think I come in the middle.
Jeff.
No, this yeah, exactly. It's all I need to do is to run for office. But here's his point, Pete. I think that the only way that Hillary is strong enough is if she's got a 6 or 7 people running against her, and Warren and Sanders are dragging and pushing her to a point where she can be credible in that debate. You're right. If there's no Elizabeth Warren and there's no Bernie Sanders with 4 or 5 other people, Bernie Sanders is going to be just in the corner by himself, the socialist from Vermont in the corner. It can't be the case. But if the party has gone to their view, to the Warren-Sanders wing, if you might, of the Democratic Party, then she can be viable. Without that, she's toast.
Yeah, and the other half of that is that I don't think Romney's a great debater. People have seen him before. He wasn't a great debater. And who says Bush is going to be a great debater? I mean, what's he stand for? He's not going to be able to get away with his cliches.
Well, I don't think it's I don't think Peter's saying this, and I'll let you get in, Pete.
What?
I think the fact is that they'd be almost the same. It's just sort of it's the Gore perspective. Remember with Bush? He's over there saying, "Oh, I agree with you."
Well, I don't think Hillary is. I think Hillary's smart enough, especially from her last campaign, to make it very clear she's very different from Bush and from Romney. But we don't even know who the candidate's going to be on their side. They're going to have a very bloody primary, and I think we can title them as a party as basically what they are, defenders of the people who are already well off. There's nothing wrong with the well-off people, because some well-off people are on our side. It's a case of your perspective about life and what you really think about energy, the environment, jobs, infrastructure, and to pin them down. I mean, Jeb Bush is the guy who stopped the train, as you know, in Florida, from Tampa to Orlando. He's going to have to talk about issues, and it just can't be he's Mr. Nice Guy.
Go ahead, Peter.
I agree, and I agree exactly what you're saying. But what I said is, I watched President Obama go through the primaries and say what I wanted to hear and do it. And when he got into office, he did a 180. And when it comes to Hillary, people want specifics on banking. Who's your Treasury Secretary going to be? Another Wall Street insider? They're going to want specifics. Who's your trade representative going to be? Maybe Marcy
No
Kaplan
candidate's not going to name names. Bush is not going to. But Bush is not going to name names. Romney's not going to name names.
Well,
I see what your point is. You want to make them.
Nobody trusts them.
I understand you want them to be sharp in their stands, but they're not going to name names about who their Treasury Secretary is going to be because nobody's going to accept a job or want their name out there unless their candidate wins. So I understand what your point is, though.
And what I'm saying is, it's going to demoralize the darn base. And let's be honest about one thing.
We don't know that.
To carry the black vote, we had President Obama being a black person.
Yeah,
and
I
when
mentioned
he
that
got
with her
attacked,
board earlier.
The whole black community got behind when he was attacked by the right and showed up to vote.
I think one of the things, Peter, that I got to run, but one of the things, and I hear you, man, and I agree with you. I think that unless Hillary moves to the left and she embraces, look, David Axelrod, no, progressive liberal, Mr. Insider with the White House, said it the other day on Meet the Press. So look, I mean, we're not the only ones out there. Unless she moves there, she's not going to do very well. And because you cannot, it's the same thing with Gore, same thing with Kerry. You go in there and you win by 1 point or you lose by 1 point, and you don't have the House and Senate behind you. And we're back to the same thing we're doing right now, which is playing defense, and that's all it is. It's like a goalie with no offense.
I think as much as we want to be impatient, we have to be patient and see what happens. I don't think we can prejudge too much what somebody is going to say when we're not so sure what they're going to say. They might be surprises about this thing. Let's face it, the country, I don't think, is ready for Republicans to run the country.
I hope not.
And they're going to make a mess in the next 2 years.
Hey, take care, and we need more of you guys on the radio. Thanks.
Hey, thank you, Peter. Great call, my friend. Always great hearing from you. Look, we got to get a couple of seconds. I just feel that, we on the progressive side, and you've seen this, John, you've been in office in the time period.
Right.
We've gone from the 1970s, when we were out there pushing all the issues, including getting Nixon to do the EPA, to now we're always on defense. We talk about ISIL and Ebola and everything else, not about our issues, not about single payer, nothing.
Part of this Cuba thing is to go back in offense, and I think we have to be on offense about infrastructure, as this show is one of the few in America. And part of the offense is not talking, even though it's real, and I know you want to say it, talk about it, we have to. Names of candidates, great, but issues.
I agree. I'm all with the issues.
The future is with the issues.
I agree. John Bussinger, we'll talk to you very soon, my friend, maybe on Monday. And I want to thank Sarah Billings, producers, broadcast help from Jimmy and Jay, our great team in Vero Beach, Florida, Boca Raton, Florida, Minneapolis, Minnesota, and right here at Emerson College. Thank you all. Thank you for listening. Back tomorrow, same bad time, same bad channel. My name is Jeff Santos. Time for me to say I gotta go.